My daughter, please help with basket on the ground.
I'm too big for that, so I can't help you.
Please help me.
Help yourself, ma. How do you expect an Instagram baddie like me to help you carry this dirty basket or whatever? Please, I need help.
That slap didn't land on skin, it landed on something ancient. The crowd laughed. But the old woman, she just smiled. Slowly. Like she already knew what was coming. Now let me tell you about this girl. If you are new here, where are you watching from? Drop that in the comments section. Let's get back. She was known online as an Instagram baddie, filters perfect, waist snatched, ego untouched. She had over 200,000 followers and she made sure everyone knew it. Every outfit was for the gram. Every move was calculated. If you weren't watching her, you weren't paying attention. But on this day, she decided to visit the village market, her grandmother's village, deep in the countryside. She came there to film content. That was it. The village was just a backdrop. The old woman was sitting quietly at the edge of the market, selling firewood. She didn't know anything about phones or cameras. She simply stood up to stretch, and blocked the baddie's selfie. One shove. One slap. The baddie didn't even think twice. People gasped. The whole market went quiet. Mothers pulled their children close. Vendors stopped what they were doing and stared. But the old woman, she didn't fall. Didn't cry. Didn't shout. Didn't even stumble. She just stood there. Completely still. And then she looked the baddie straight in the eyes, no fear, no anger, and said, "Child, you've greeted the wrong memory." Nobody laughed at that. The baddie scoffed. She rolled her eyes, flipped her hair, and walked away laughing. She posted the whole thing on her story. Caption: "Village people are so funny." Comments flooded in. Everyone was laughing with her. But then something strange happened. She opened her camera to take one more selfie, and the screen went black. Not dead. Not glitched. The camera just switched itself off. Like something had reached in and turned it off from the inside. She turned the phone around to check the screen. And there, in the reflection of the black camera lens, her face was smiling. But she wasn't smiling. That night, she went home and opened Instagram. And everything was gone. Not deleted. Not hacked. Erased. Her follower count read 0. Every single like, gone. Every comment, gone. She scrolled through her old posts and the names beneath them, the hearts, the fire emojis, all of it had vanished. Like it had never existed. Even the posts themselves started disappearing. One by one. Quietly. Like the app was forgetting she ever existed. She refreshed. Again. Again. Nothing changed. By midnight, her account was completely blank. The next morning she went straight back to the market. She was furious. Her hands were shaking. The old woman was sitting in the exact same spot, calm, peaceful, feeding birds from her palm like nothing had happened. The baddie stood over her and snapped. "Fix it. Now." The old woman didn't even look up. She kept tossing seeds to the birds. Then, very gently, she said, "I don't fix what reveals itself." The baddie didn't understand. She demanded answers. But the old woman just kept feeding the birds, humming a song that sounded like it came from somewhere very, very old. And then, everything stopped. The wind died. The birds landed and went silent. Every person in that market froze mid-step, mid-sentence, mid-breath. Like someone had pressed pause on the entire world. And the old woman, she stood up. But she wasn't the same woman anymore. She stood taller, much taller than before. Her shadow stretched long and dark across the ground, even though the sun was directly overhead. The air around her felt heavy, like the atmosphere itself was bending around her. Drums began to sound. But there were no drummers. The rhythm came from the earth itself, deep, slow, ancient. She looked at the baddie. And she spoke, but the voice wasn't just hers. It was layered. Like 100 voices were speaking through her at once. You think I am just an old woman? She shook her head slowly. I am not poor. I am not weak. I am not something you can push aside. She took one step forward. I am a keeper of faces. I am the spirit that guards identity. Beauty. Public praise. The way the world sees you, that is my domain. And you have just disrespected me in my own ground. The baddie stumbled back. For the first time, there was fear in her eyes. The old woman, the keeper, tilted her head and studied the baddie like she was reading something written on her chest. Then she said, Your beauty was loud, but your respect was silent. She reached out one hand, slow, deliberate, and pressed her palm flat against the baddie's chest. And she pulled. Nothing visible came out. But the baddie gasped like the air had been ripped from her lungs. She stumbled. Her knees buckled. Something had been taken from her, something she couldn't see, something she didn't even know she had. Something essential. The baddie rushed home and locked herself in the bathroom. She stood in front of the mirror. The mirror showed nothing. She grabbed her phone, opened the front camera. The lens blurred. Her face wouldn't focus. It was like the camera was refusing to see her. She ran into the street. A child walked past her, looked straight through her, like she wasn't there. A woman at a stall called out to a customer standing right next to the baddie, and the baddie didn't exist. She still existed. She could feel the ground beneath her feet. She could hear her own heartbeat. But the world could only see her halfway. She ran back to the market. This time she was crying. She found the keeper standing where she always stood, calm, patient, waiting, like she had expected this. The keeper offered her a choice. Just two options. Simple. Return to this market. Kneel. And apologize, publicly. In front of everyone. With humility. With truth. No pride. No performance. Real. She paused. Or, live like this forever. Unseen. Unrecognized. Halfway between existing and not. The baddie stared at her. And even now, even after everything, pride rose up in her chest. She let out a laugh. A short, bitter, defiant laugh. The laugh died in her throat. Midway through the sound, her voice simply vanished. Like someone had cut the cord. Her mouth moved, but only a thin, broken whisper came out, barely audible, like wind through dry leaves. She tried again. Nothing. She looked down at the ground, and her shadow was gone. Not faint. Not fading. It had simply left. Like it had decided it no longer wanted to be hers. She screamed, silently, and dropped to her knees right there in the dirt. No phone in her hand. No filters. No audience. No one watching. For the first time in her life, just truth. The keeper watched her for a long moment. Then she knelt down, slowly, and placed one hand gently on the girl's forehead. The market began to breathe again. The wind returned. The frozen people stumbled back to life, blinking, confused, like they had just woken up from a dream. People looked at the baddie. They could see her again. She stood up. Wiped her face. And for a moment, just a moment, she looked normal. She looked like herself. But something was different. And she could feel it. Over the next few days, the baddie noticed something. When she was kind, genuinely kind, not performing, not for cameras, her reflection came back. Clear. Sharp. Beautiful. She could see herself again. People could see her. The world acknowledged her. But the moment pride crept back in, the second vanity touched her heart, her face began to fade. Slowly at first. Then faster. Like ink dissolving in water. Her beauty wasn't gone forever. It was conditional. It only lived when kindness did. One morning she went back to the market looking for the old woman. But she was gone. In the exact spot where she used to sit, there was nothing but a small calabash, a traditional vessel carved from a gourd, with ancient symbols etched all around it. The baddie knelt down and picked it up. She looked inside. At the bottom of the calabash, sitting in shadow, was a cracked mirror. She stared into it. And for just a second, she saw the old woman's face staring back. Then it was gone. Till today, the baddie still posts online. She's careful now. Quieter. She doesn't say much in the comments. But sometimes, strangers leave replies that make no sense. Why does your face change when you're rude? Who is that old woman standing behind you? I can see your reflection in the background, but it's not moving the same way you are. They say the old woman now scrolls Instagram at night. Watching. Waiting. For the next slap.